The storm rolled across the plains like a living beast, throwing curtains of dust and icy rain across the open land. Cole Maddox, rancher of the lonely Maddox homestead, tightened the reins on his horse as he squinted into the darkness. Nights like this made the world feel empty, but tonight something felt different. He could sense it in the air, a quiet pull that drew him toward the far end of his property. Lightning flashed. In that split-second burst of white light, he saw a broken wagon tipped onto one wheel, canvas torn, wheels spinning in the wind, and beside it, a small figure struggling to hold on, hair whipping wildly in the storm. Cole didn't even think. He kicked his boots into the horse's sides and charged forward. When he reached her, she was shivering so hard she didn't hear him dismount. "Ma'am," he shouted over the wind. She turned, eyes wide with fear and relief all at once, as if she wasn't sure he was real. "Your wagon, it's about to go over," he warned. "You need to get out of this storm now." I can't walk," she stammered, hugging herself. "My ankle, I think it's twisted." Cole's jaw tightened, but not in anger and determination. "Then I'll carry you." Before she could argue, he scooped her into his arms. She weighed next to nothing, trembling violently as the cold bit into her soaked dress. "My name is Evelyn," she whispered, voice cracking. "Evelyn Hart." Cole Maddox, he answered, pulling his coat around her to shield her from the rain. "Hold on, we'll be at the cabin soon." The storm fought him every step of the way, but he didn't stop, not even when a gust nearly knocked them both over. He kept his grip steady, and Evelyn clung to the front of his shirt like it was the only solid thing in the world. By the time he pushed open the cabin door with his shoulder, she was barely conscious. Warmth met them instantly. Cole lowered her onto the nearest chair and hurried to throw more wood into the fireplace. Sparks jumped to life, flames rising like a golden shield against the storm outside. Evelyn watched him silently, her teeth still chattering. She looked small and lost, but there was something brave in the way she held herself even through the pain. "You're safe now," he said gently. "Let me see that ankle." Evelyn hesitated. Maybe she wasn't used to strangers. Maybe she wasn't used to kindness. But after a long moment, she nodded. Cole pulled up a stool and carefully lifted her foot. The skin was swollen, already turning deep red. She gasped softly when his fingers brushed against it. "Sorry," he murmured. "I'll be careful." "You stepped in a bad rut, didn't you?" She nodded. "The horse spooked and bolted. I jumped out before the wagon tipped fully." "That was brave," Cole said. "It was foolish," she corrected softly. "I shouldn't have been out here alone." Cole wrapped her ankle with a strip of cloth torn from an old shirt. "You're not alone anymore." At that, something in her expression shifted, surprise, mixed with something painfully tender. She swallowed and looked away, but he saw it. It didn't matter. He didn't push. He made her warm tea, covered her with a wool blanket, and finally sat down across from her. Outside, the storm roared like a monster still searching for them. But inside the cabin, a strange quiet settled. Evelyn watched the fire, knees pulled to her chest, hands wrapped around the warm mug. "You saved me," she whispered, as if the realization had just hit her. "You didn't even know who I was." "You were someone in trouble," Cole replied simply. "That's all that matters." Evelyn lowered her gaze, fingers tightening around the mug. "Most men wouldn't have bothered." Then most men are fools. For the first time since he found her, she smiled. It was small, trembled at the edges, but it changed her face completely. She looked softer, younger, like the weight she carried had lifted for just that moment. The wind howled again, rattling the shutters. Cole stood and checked the door. "Storm like this?" he exhaled. "It won't pass soon. You'll have to stay here tonight." Evelyn didn't seem afraid of that, just uncertain. "I don't want to trouble you." "You're not," he said firmly. "You being alive is a hell of a lot better than me finding a cold, lonely wagon in the morning." Her breath caught slightly. Not in fear, more in the way someone reacts when they hear kindness they aren't used to. Cole gave her the bed. She tried to refuse, insisted she could sleep on the chair or even the floor, but he shook his head. A twisted ankle, and a night in the cold. No chance. She finally laid down, though she kept glancing over at him as he settled into a chair by the fire. Shadows danced across the room, the storm screamed against the walls. But inside, a strange peace began to form, something unspoken, fragile, but undeniably real. Just before she drifted into sleep, Evelyn whispered, "Thank you, Cole. That's the first time tonight you saved me." Cole didn't answer right away. He watched the firelight flicker across her face, saw the exhaustion soften her features, then he whispered back, "Get some rest, Evelyn. Tonight's not over yet." He didn't know how right he was.
Hammered the roof, and every instinct in him stayed alert. Something felt off. Not danger from inside the cabin, but from the wild beyond it. Storms like this brought out hungry things, desperate things. And with a stranger depending on him, he wasn't willing to let his guard slip. Near midnight, the wind changed pitch. It wasn't just noise now, it was movement. A soft crunch of snow. A low growl carried on the wind. Cole's eyes snapped open. That wasn't the storm. He stood quietly, taking his rifle from the wall. Evelyn stirred at the sound. Cole, what's wrong? He moved to the door, listening carefully. Wolves. Her breath hitched. Close. How many? 2, maybe 3, he whispered. Storm probably pushed them near the cabin. Evelyn tried to sit up but winced when her ankle brushed the blanket. Fear flashed in her eyes, but she held herself steady. She didn't panic. She waited. Trusted him. Cole gave her a reassuring nod. Stay inside. I'll scare them off. Please, be careful, she murmured. He was already stepping outside, boots sinking into the wet earth. The wind slapped him in the face, the lantern's flame twisting wildly inside its glass. The wolves, shadows appeared first, eyes glinting in the dark, drawn by the scent of weakness, warmth, and shelter. Cole lifted the lantern high. Get, he shouted into the storm. This ain't your meal. The wolves paced, snarling, but he didn't back down. He raised his rifle and fired a warning shot into the sky. The crack echoed like thunder. One wolf bolted immediately, another hesitated, growled, then retreated. The last stood its ground longer, eyes fixed on the cabin door, on Evelyn. Cole stepped between the wolf and the house. Not tonight. He didn't fire this time. Instead, he swung the lantern toward the ground. The sudden burst of light startled the wolf enough for it to retreat into the storm, finally disappearing into the swirling dark. Only once the last shadow faded did Cole exhale. He turned and re-entered the cabin, soaked and chilled to the bone. Evelyn looked at him like he'd wrestled a bear. You did it, she breathed. You scared them away. Cole set the rifle aside. They were just hungry. Storms drive everything out of hiding. You saved me again, she whispered. Cole shook his head. I saved both of us. But the way she looked at him, soft, grateful, almost glowing in the firelight, said she didn't believe it was only that. He added more wood to the fire, and the warmth finally began to creep into his skin. Evelyn tugged the blanket around herself, then hesitated. For a moment she seemed unsure, then she spoke quietly, voice trembling only slightly. You don't have to sit in that chair all night. Cole blinked. It's fine. I've slept in worse. You'll freeze before morning, she insisted. The storm took the heat out of you. Sit closer to the fire, please. He wasn't sure if she meant closer to the fire or closer to her. But the gentle plea convinced him. He sat beside the bed, boots off, arms resting loosely over his knees. The warmth filled the space between them. After a long silence, Evelyn spoke again. Cole, can I tell you something? Of course. She took a slow breath. I wasn't just traveling. I was leaving. Cole looked up. Leaving what? A life that was never mine to choose, she whispered, eyes fixed on the fire. My uncle arranged a marriage for me to a man twice my age. A cruel man. I couldn't do it, so I ran. Cole didn't move, didn't interrupt. And when the wagon broke, she continued softly, I thought, maybe that was it. Maybe I was meant to disappear out there in the storm, and no one would even know. He clenched his jaw. Evelyn, you deserve better than that fate. She met his eyes then, really met them. But, you found me, she said, voice trembling. A stranger risked everything for me. It wasn't a risk, Cole said gently. It was the right thing to do. Her gaze softened, eyes glistening. You saved me twice tonight. From the storm, and from the wolves. But the worst part wasn't either of those. She hesitated, then whispered, it was the fear that no one would care whether I lived or died. Cole's chest tightened. I care, he said before he could stop himself. Evelyn inhaled sharply, as if those words hit deeper than she expected. Then, that's the third time, she said softly. Tonight, you saved my hope. Cole didn't know what to say. The storm quieted around them, but inside the cabin, something else stirred, the fragile beginning of trust, the warmth of something too new and too precious to name. Evelyn lowered her gaze, tears clinging to her lashes. You gave me more kindness tonight than I've known in years. Cole, I don't know how to thank you. You don't owe me anything, he murmured. Just rest. That's enough, she nodded, wiping her eyes. But when morning comes, I don't want to leave. Those words hit him deeper than the storm, deeper than the wolves' eyes in the dark. He didn't answer right away because he needed to be sure she meant it. Evelyn, he said quietly, you can stay as long as you need. As long as you want. Her breath caught. She reached out, her fingers brushing the back of his hand, light as a whisper, but full of meaning. Then maybe, she whispered, this wasn't a storm after all. Maybe it was a sign. Cole covered her hand with his, steady, warm, protective. Maybe it was, he agreed. Outside, dawn finally broke, soft gold spilling over the cold plains. Inside the cabin, something new was beginning, fragile, hopeful, and strong enough to change both of their lives forever.